Lincoln MKT, model year 2013. This is going to be really similar to MKZ, MKS, all this stuff. We got the electronic suspension option here. You got to be very careful when ordering your struts and shocks. Make sure you get the right ones. 2014 MKZ, it even had an option for manufacturing date. So you got to check your manufacturing date with or without electronic suspension and some other options. Super stupid, but it is what it is. Let's get down to it. These are some of the easier struts where you have to compress the springs. As far as I know, they don't make quick struts for these. I've looked all over, can't find them. And so it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I do have some spring compressors. I know I put at least one in my Amazon store that I like. Lincoln bio or about section or whatever. If you're interested or get your own, don't cheap out on strut coil spring compressors. My first pair of them that I ever bought were the cheap hook style. Ended up breaking while I was doing a coil spring and shot up in the air a couple feet. Not enough to hit me in the face where it would have. Only one of the claws broke. Pitched those and bought a heavy duty set. No more of that crap. We got 15 millimeter bolts on top of the strut, just these 4 bolts. Oh, I started with the wrong one. You can get to these 3 with an impact and a swivel, but this last one, it's pretty tough to get one in, and I can't find my semi-deep 15. I don't know where it went. Might have to buy another. Who cares? But I like getting these 2 bolts off first. You raise this one up a little bit, and then the ratcheting wrench will get to it. I have flex ratcheting wrenches, but I don't feel like grabbing them, and I got this one right here. I'm just gonna take the back 2 nuts off and loosen the front 2. That's it. Now you don't have to do this, but it helps, or in my opinion it does. And the new strut did not come with any hardware or anything, so we're just going to reuse our nuts, and we'll go ahead and just pop that guy on there and just break it free. Get a little bit of play in the strut, just breaking it free. Good enough. And we'll leave these tools here, close the hood, go up in the air. Sway bar links, control arms, ball joints, tie rods have already been done. I haven't worked on the suspension of this at all. I think this is only his 2nd or 3rd time coming to me. He found me, liked me, he's sticking with me. So I took the angle grinder with the wire wheel to the sway bar link because we want to reuse it. It's been replaced fairly recently. We don't want to hurt it at the same time. So that's why you use the wire wheel there. And we'll go ahead and just unclip this wheel speed sensor. And we also have this guy here. It's the clip for the electronic suspension, and it's full of dirt, so I'm gonna struggle with it. I like this. This is good for these little guys. You can kind of pop them out. There we go. This pops out of the strut there. And sometimes you gotta play with it when there's mud build up that good. Yeah, you see all that dirt inside there? It's mostly on the male part of the terminal, so cool. Don't really gotta clean this out. There we go. Now let's get back to that sway bar that I was talking about. Did I tell you it was 15 millimeter on those shock tower bolts? Now this should be, I believe, a 22 or a 21. 21. All I'm gonna do is see if it comes off. I'm not gonna spin the ball really. Oh, this one actually came off. Let's go. It is 10 millimeter on the end here. And so if the ball's spinning inside there, you put a 21 millimeter wrench closed in on the nut and then spin the center stud, and that will unthread the nut if the ball joint inside of the sway bar link is just spinning on you. But always recommended to do sway bars with struts. This guy had already had his clanky sway bars, sway bar links replaced at some point in time. Recently, you can see how clean the boot is for Michigan. Now we got 24mm socket on the strut bolts where it connects to the steering knuckle. We're going to zip those bad boys off. Kind of rusty, but not bad at all for Michigan. And look at the Ryobi. Put in work. Not bad, huh? Don't be dogging Ryobi's new models, guys. It's not like the old days. And also, don't forget to hydrate. I'm not telling you what's in my cup, but it's clear. All right. Now, these are press-in style bolts, so you have to hammer them out. See how there's no threads at the end? That allows you to hammer them without hurting them. Pretty cool, eh? And that's how simple this strut job is. Now, I'm gonna have to cut the other wheel. It's always easier if you just grab it so I can get a blow on this one. Pretty awkward angle for that lower one. So I suggest hammering out the lower one first because it's awkward. And yeah, because the second bolt always comes out harder because it has all the tension left on it. Now, smack this backwards. And we are ready to just lift the hood. I'll get on my step stool, lift the hood, finger those two nuts off, and this will drop down. See, you don't want it to drop down on your CV axle boot, just in case. So I put it right over the metal shaft, kind of pushed it out of the way. Let's see if I can reach up there. I'll just grab my step stool. See, I didn't even have to close the hood. I did that for no reason. We got enough room. It's not hitting the ceiling. I didn't quite get them loose enough, so I grabbed my ratcheting wrench instead of coming back down and grabbing the impact. I'm taking the last bolt out and supporting the strut. Sometimes when you go to do struts, there's a big old air gap and they'll come crashing down. This one, you don't really have to be careful on. I'm being pretty lackadaisical. Come on, buddy. Give me that last nut. Where'd you go? There you are. All right. All four nuts on the top are off. And grab the strut, bring it over under the wire, and out. Now, I'm gonna go put this strut in the vise. You can see I got my new strut and my old strut. Highly recommend buying the strut topper there, strut mate bearing as well while you're at it, and replacing the coil springs. This guy wants to get out cheap, so we're getting out as cheap as possible. Let's focus in on the used strut at first, and I'll show you how to do this. Here's my kit right here. I believe I put this one in my Amazon store, and it comes with this. Whoa, shaky, shaky. I did modify this. I cut it down. I just find it easier for most struts to have the cut down on there. A little bit of grease for your tool. Your threader on there. This one just slides, no threads. All your pressure's in these threads. So a little grease at the end will do you good. We want to put the tool so that the nut is facing upwards, or the bolt head that you have to tighten. There we go. Just like so. We're gonna grab the, what size are these again? 22 mil, 24, 24. This particular tool is 24. So, long bolt, you probably make one of these yourself. the one that passes through. Got the washer in between, and then thread her on. Uh-oh. All right, that last thread is getting a little funky. That's okay. So you see, you get a much wider clamp on one side of the spring typically, and then a smaller clamp on the other. So that's why one I made shorter than the other. And there was one set of struts I could not do. I couldn't do it at all without shaving some off. And I was like, screw it. That's how I roll. If I need something to get a job done, I'll break a tool, fabricate a tool to get it done. Just gonna get that set in place. There we go. There's not a whole lot of tension on our tool yet. Smack our safety pins in. There we go. Safety pins are locked in. And we compress. Not all at once, side to side. And see how we can spin this now? We can move the coil spring, the tension is off. I'll go a little bit more. There we go, I like that. And I believe it's a 21 millimeter nut on the top. Let me grab that. 21, yes. Lefty loosey. I always like that name, Lucy. Started to loosen a little bit, then it just kept on spinning, just like I was talking about that sway bar. So I already expected that. And have my jumbo vice grips that I bought from Tractor Supply on hand because it's spinning the whole shaft. There we go. Got our nut off? Got our nut off. All right, and now it's transferring time. We set this over to the side, pull our vice grips, grab our spring, and I faced both the struts the same way, so I can just go straight up, get that out of there, it's broke, and transfer it to the new strut. Now the new strut does come with the coil spring insulator on the bottom, which is nice. I'm glad they provided that at least. Should be standard, but typically isn't. So we move on over to our new strut now. See, these ones are not that hard to do at all, guys. And we look at where the spring had ended before, and we get that lined up with our piggy tail right up here. That's good. Take our nut, spin it on there. We're gonna tighten until it stops, holding the insulator right in place where it used to be. Now, typically, you're gonna be able to tighten this down, no problem. It's just gonna go, This one decided it wants to be a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? I said that really fast. Little bitch. So we're gonna need a 10 millimeter. It barely, as soon as it got to the nylon locker on the nut, it stopped. Sometimes that happens, but usually new struts, it doesn't. All right, we're gonna set our ratchet to reverse and go over the 10 millimeter hex on the stud of the strut and hold the nut with our 21 millimeter. So if you turn the inside left, it's like turning the nut right. Does that make sense? And this has a really big dent in it. Indent. Whoa! Vise came loose. I didn't want to tighten the new one in the vise very hard, you know, because it's got electronics in it. All right, I got it pretty much all the way down. So I'm going to go ahead and let the spring up, the tension, and then hit it with the impact one more time to make sure we're all the way tight on that nut. So we make sure everything's lined up. There's a little stopper for your pigtail at the bottom. And we've got our top strut mate bearing plate assembly thing right here, lined up where the old one was. Switch back to our 24 mil on the impact. And bada boom. Back and forth. As you're doing this, make sure your coil spring stays in the spots it's supposed to be in. There we go. We'll just zip our bolt right out. Like I said, we're going to put that 21 back on and make sure it's tight. It's tight. And we retrieve our tool. This is typically the hardest part for me, retrieving the coil spring tool, because these little lockers, it makes no sense. I don't know. I think over the years they've kind of bent inwards a little bit somehow, and they don't, depending on the size of the coil spring, they just don't like to unlock. So I try, if I can, to spin them so I can hit that safety pin. They just need a couple hammer whacks and they go in. Just like that. A little annoying, but not the end of the world. At least I'd rather have the safety pins on there just in case and be annoyed. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? What movie's that from? Malibu's Most Wanted? Know what I'm saying? Ah, come on. This guy. I've done mushroomed it. Oh yeah, you're getting filed down later on tonight, baby. There we go. Our strut is complete. It's good to do full-length videos where you show the struggle instead of people editing stuff out where like, I'm a genius, I know how to do everything. Check out how big my ego is. Nope. I show the mistakes, the hard stuff, the swearing. Let's be real, people. Let's be real. All right, here we go. All right. For this particular step, it's much easier to bring the vehicle down. So, I'll just bring the vehicle down. That sounds like a good idea. We'll take our strut and we're gonna put it in the same way it came out. Kind of goes in at that angle. Line her up. There we go. Hold her with one hand. Helps to have a buddy, but you can do it by yourself like me. We'll thread our nuts on just finger tight. Last thing we'll do is set this thing on the ground and tighten these nuts. There we go. All 4 finger tight. Now we're going back up. I'm not even gonna touch this wire at all. We're gonna focus on just getting this bad boy started. Reverse order. We'll go like this, and we'll line up the strut. You can turn your strut. That's what they do when you turn the steering wheel. They'll turn too. There's nothing wrong with turning them. And we'll take our hammer and just kind of tap it in. And this one doesn't want to go in that easy. Sometimes you got to get the wiggle jiggle or the angle just right. Struggle bussing it. Let's go ahead and straighten the wheels out. All right, so the wheel is straight, and that ought to make it a little easier to get in. I'm not even pushing it in and it wants to bite for some reason. And it wants to stay low. There we go. That's where we want it. With the electronics inside, I don't really want a hammer. There we go. Finally it lined up. See, if you got it lined up just perfect, and it's got to be just perfect, it'll go in there pretty easily. Now these are press bolts. See how there's presses on them? They go in this way. So the head of the bolt is towards the front of the vehicle. There we go. We'll hammer this in, because they are press bolts. Put my sway bar link in, and I will put the nut on. Boom. Guess I'll attach this wire right now. It's got its little clip right here it goes into. You want to make sure this is clipped all the way in. I heard the click. Pop it back into its retainer. It's good there. Clip our wheel speed sensor in there. Save that rubber band. Use them for all kinds of stuff around here. Pop this wire into that loom. Now we got the bottom strut bolt, and I'm just going to take just an extender and get the press started. Those little press threads. Perfect. All right, and that's about all you guys need to know. I'm gonna tighten up this sway bar nut. Torque spec's probably like 40 foot-pounds on it, if I'm guessing top of my head. These ones, just tighten them as hard as you can. Make sure it squeezes that metal into the steering knuckle, and the press is all the way flush. The bolt's all the way flush, nice and tight. Torque your wheels to spec on the lug nuts. I think it's 110 or 120 foot-pounds on this, something like that. I'd have to check my computer. And then when it comes down on the ground, tighten those 4 nuts on the top of the strut. And, we're all done with the struts. Then we'll move on to calibration. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Altel scanner for this. I'm in just the basic hot functions. We'll go to suspension, then we'll ride height calibration, and then read the instructions. It says, you know, don't perform this right after it's been lifted. So I took it for a drive, good test drive, no clanks or clunks anymore. So we're good to go. Cleared all DTCs from all modules, ride height calibration. So I'm not really sure on this one. Ride height calibration, I would say empty. And it's saying calibration successful, successful, successful. Not really sure what it means by a quarter full or whatever. Turn ignition switch off and then turn it back to run. Okay. All right, let's go off. All right, and then we go back to the key on position, which you got to press the button twice on these, and that'll be key on. And we'll go ahead and click OK now. And it says calibration successful, function complete. Conduct a self-test to identify any DTCs that may be present, but we're good. Function completed. And that's a video, guys. Thanks for watching. Love you, and good night.